evening, good afternoon, good morning. Jan Roberts here from Key Leadership Institute in South Africa. And I am just continuing with my self-care series. As I said a few days ago, maybe even yesterday, time flies when you're having fun. I was only going to do maybe a week and a half, and this is now number 20 already. So it's 4 weeks that I've been busy with this, and I'm so engaged in this because it's such an important subject. And the more I keep finding out about self-care and how important it is to each and every one of us, the more I want to just hopefully add some value to each and every one of you by taking on different areas and different subjects within the self-care and how we can learn to look after ourselves better. Now, today's subject certainly wasn't planned. Well, not until yesterday afternoon anyway. Because I was having an amazing discussion with my brother from another mother, Mikael from Denmark, and it happened yesterday. And as so often happens when we chat, we have absolutely no idea where it goes, but always meaningful and always full of wisdom, obviously from him. And we talked about the importance of connecting with others, especially the people we are close to, even more so during these challenging times. And hugging came up as a powerful way to do so. And the dogs will probably agree. But I thought about that afterwards and mulled it over, like I do every time when we have discussions, and decided this would be a great subject of self-care to talk into. And there we are today, the power of the human touch. Now, I did a bit more research as well about it, and it's amazing what you find when you're actually asking the right kind of questions. But really, what a hug is a form of endearment, universal in human communities, in which two or more people put their arms around somebody's neck. I said arms, not hands. Around somebody's neck, waist, or back, or another person with another person, of course, and to hold each other closely. If more than two people actually are involved in this, we usually refer to this as a group hug. Group hug. But there is so much power in a hug, actually. And I know there is some of you people will watch this and say, but don't you know what's happening around us at the moment? Social this, I don't even want to know. I think regardless of what's happening around us, hug people. Everybody needs a hug. And there is so much power in hug, that's why I want to talk into that. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I think everybody needs a hug. Everybody needs to connect with other people. So see, when we reach out, it's a chemical called oxytocin, also dubbed the love hormone, kicks in and makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside when we really cuddle and bond with each other. And that's what hugs actually do. The effect of the warm embrace can linger long after the hug. See, oxytocin promotes feelings of trust, nurturing, and calmness. Don't you need a hug right now? So that's also a reason why being hugged feels so good. So when you're feeling down, give someone a squeeze and feel your own mood lift. And I'm sure that if you hug somebody, it'll lift their mood as well, because you might not see it on the face, but hugs are powerful. See, the world would be so much better off if we could just hug everything out, hug everything away. Make your world better with the all-powerful hug. Now that was by somebody unknown. I tried to figure it out, but I don't know who it was. But it's a great quote. What would happen if we could hug everything away? See, we hug others when we're excited, happy, sad, or trying to comfort. And hugging, it seems, is universally comforting, and it makes us feel good. And it turns out that hugging is proven to make us healthier and happier as well. Is that not just some reasons to start hugging? I hope by the time we're finished you really want to go and grab somebody and hug them. But because according to scientists, the benefits of hugging go beyond that warm feeling. That really warm feeling you get when you hold someone in your arms. A hug has amazing powers. It is celebratory, reassuring, comforting and calming. And below, I've actually put some benefits together for hugging. And one of them is hugs reduce stress by showing your support. See, when a friend or family member is dealing with something painful or unpleasant in their lives, give them a hug. even more so right now. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about scientists because there's so many scientific studies I came across, but scientists say that giving another person support through touch can reduce the stress of the person being comforted with. It can even reduce the stress of the person doing the comforting. People, we need to become a hugging human beings again. We need to start hugging each other. And if you don't want to because you're scared and been made scared, I get that, but then you need a hug even more so than ever. See, in another study of 20 heterosexual couples, men were given the unpleasant, I love this, unpleasant electric shocks. During the shocks, each woman held the arm of the partner. And research showed that the parts of each woman's brain associated with the stress showed reduced activity, while those parts associated with the rewards of maternal behavior showed more activity. See, when we hug someone to comfort them, these parts of our brain may show similar responses. Now, when I looked into that, I thought, why, in these days of equality, why can't they give the woman the electric shock and measure the man's brain? I don't know if it works the same, but I mean, it's amazing. And hugs may protect you against illness. That's why that really appealed to me as well, because how many people are feeling low, feeling anxious, feeling depressed, and feeling sad, and feeling all these kind of negative feelings which actually really damage your immune system. And it damages you because, I always said you can't give what you haven't got, and if you are in that state, how will the people around you feel? I mean, I don't even have to start going into statistics of, things like the doubling of suicide rates in UK, in England and Wales last month, the 1,400% increase in domestic violence, and it goes on and on and on. And I maybe I will do a talk like that on my own Facebook page sometime. But this is about self-care, and that's why it's even more important, because the stress-reducing effect of hugging might also work to keep you healthier. In another study, over 400 adults, researchers found that hugging may reduce the chance of a person will get sick. The participants with a greater support system were less likely to get sick, and those with a greater support system who did get sick had less severe symptoms than those with little or no support system. Hug somebody who's not feeling well. Then there is hugs may boost your heart health. I could say something about heart attacks and all these kind of things happen much more when people are stressed. So hugging can be good for your heart. And yet another study, scientists split a group of around 200 adults in two groups. And one group had romantic partners holding hands for 10 minutes, followed by a 20-second hug with each other. And the other group had romantic partners who sat in silence for 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Now, people in the first group showed greater reduction in blood pressure levels and heart rate than the second group. According to these findings, an affectionate relationship might be good for your heart health as well. Hugs can make you happier. If you hadn't found that just now, you haven't been hugged enough. Oxytocin is a chemical in our body that scientists sometimes call the cuddle hormone. This is because the levels rise when we hug, touch, or sit close to someone else. Oxytocin is associated with happiness and less stress. And scientists found that the hormone has strong effects on women. Oxytocin causes a reduction in blood pressure and the stress hormone, and I can't even pronounce that name normally. I've tried a few times, neuropinephrine or something like that. But it's the stress hormone. But see, people they get positive benefits from the oxytocin, and they had the strongest women and had the best relationships and the most frequent hugs with their romantic partners. Hug your partner. We do it quite often, actually, and it's wonderful. Hug helps reduce fears. Now, people, with all that's going on around us, doesn't everybody need our children, our partners, our friends, our people, our neighbors, people in our community? And you can say what you like. Everybody at the moment could do with a hug. And if that makes you more fearful, stay away from it. I don't want to incite any kind of group hugging and be the finger pointing at me. Oh, it's his fault, because no, I will take that chance. Hug people, because Touch can reduce anxiety in people with low self-esteem. Touch can also keep people from isolating themselves when reminded of their mortality. Can help people and keep them safe when they're isolating themselves. I mean, hugs may help you reduce your pain. Research suggests that forms of touch may be capable of reducing pain. In yet another study, people with fibromyalgia had 6 therapeutic touch treatments. Each treatment involved light touch on the skin. The participants reported an increase in quality of life and reduced pain. Hug people. Hugging is another form of touch that may help reduce pain. And another one is hugs help communicate with others. See, most human communication occurs verbally or through facial expressions. Even more so now facial expressions because we're so far away from each other with all this stuff happening. But touch is another important way that people can send messages to one another. Believe it or not. And a complete stranger was capable of expressing a wide range of emotions to another person by touching different parts of their body. Now, some emotions expressed include anger, fear, disgust, love, gratitude, happiness, sadness, and sympathy. What a range of symptoms, what a range of emotions expressed by the human touch. By a hug. Hugging is very comforting and communicative type of touch. So, how many hugs do we need? Well, as many as possible would probably be a great answer. But however, there's a family therapist, and her name is Virginia Satir, said once that we need 4 hugs a day for survival. 4 hugs a day just for survival. And 8 hugs a day for maintenance. And 12 hugs a day for growth. So while that may sound like a lot of hugs, it seems that many hugs are better than not enough. When was the last time you hugged somebody? So how many hugs should you have in a day for optimal health? According to the best science, we should have as many as possible if we want to reap the greatest positive effects. When was the last time you hugged somebody? When was the last time you hugged somebody more than once a day? When was the last time you got a hug even once a day? Because we're all doing this just now and it's unhealthy. It is not looking after ourselves or the other person we're hugging. See, unfortunately, most Western people today are touch deprived. I think the world is touch deprived at the moment. Deprived of so many things and also touch deprived. So many people live in solitary or busy lives with reduced social interaction and touching. See, our modern society and societal conventions often push people not to touch others who aren't directly related to them. However, it seems people could benefit a lot from touching others a bit more. So, go out and hug a friend. Go out and hug somebody. When you see people sitting, put an arm around them. There is different ways of hugs. And I'll even mention the different ways of hugs. So you don't have to fully grab the arms around them. Even a hand around the shoulder is like a hug, a sideways hug. So if you want to feel better about yourself, reduce your stress, improve communication, and be happier and healthier, it seems that giving and asking for more hugs is a good place to start. Now, there is a lot more. I mean, science actually proves that regular hugs with those closest to you, even for a brief moment, can have especially positive effects on your brain and body. Now, I know there's a lot of scientific information and studies about hugging, but do we really need science to tell us that hugging is good for us? See, there's a pretty good chance that some of your best memories feature a good old-fashioned hug. In fact, the humble but powerful hug was one of the first things welcoming you to the planet, just after you were born. You were being hugged by parents, friends, co-workers, kids, and perhaps even complete strangers you preferred not to be hugged by. Now, that sometimes happens as well. I remember the stories of even grandma doing this. Oh, look at the little boy, and pulling your cheeks, and you go, oh, goody. But we may hesitate to touch each other for fear of overstepping personal boundaries. I get that, or making somebody feel uncomfortable. But sometimes it's worth the risk to hug it out. If you're unsure of whether a hug is welcome, just ask. You don't have to make it weird. A simple "can I give you a hug" will do. And my partner Artie, we were actually somewhere the other day, and we had such an amazing conversation. And Artie actually asked the person without even knowing, well, she knows all this probably, but without realizing it. She says, because of all this kind of stuff, "Can I give you a hug?" And the guy was 71 years old. And the guy says, "Yes, please." He says, "I would love a hug." See, we stay away from these kind of things because we overthink. See, sometimes a hug can change someone's day, and it only takes a second or two. Hug your loved ones and friends more. Show them when you care and when you also reap the benefits. Now, there is all kinds of different hugs, and I'll quickly go through them just to give you an idea. There is, I think, 5 or 6 different ones that they actually really talk about, and the first one is a beer hug. Now, I'm telling you something, a beer hug. I've given somebody a beer hug, but not because it was nice, but I gave him a hug. But sometimes you get a beer hug and you know you're really getting hugged. But it's tight, reassuring, and worth millions of words. The beer hug is where people love each other completely, and that's when you really hold tight onto somebody. Then there's the polite hug. It's actually this type of hug you usually share with acquaintances and colleagues, and it's given sideways. You know, the sideways hug? But that is also something when you see somebody sitting and they're lonely and they look distressed, and you know, just sit beside them and just put an arm around the shoulder. That's a sideways hug. And just sit there. You don't even have to say anything, but the power of that connection is huge. A hug will and can save lives. You'll never know the next person you hug, you might have just saved their life. And that might be in your own family, and it might be a total shit stranger. But is it not worth doing? Is it? I could go much further and think, you know, if you saw somebody sitting there and maybe somebody you know, and you didn't go over and give him a hug, whether it's in your office or whatever, and tomorrow he's not there, either he committed or tried to commit suicide, and you wonder, I should have gone over and sat with him. If you're thinking I should have, then just go over and do that. But then you've got also the one-way hug, where you just hug somebody else and with everything you've got, and the other person doesn't even lift an arm to put around your shoulder, but it's just giving somebody that one-way hug. It doesn't. The lack of reciprocation doesn't matter, but it means a lot to people. The intimate hug, well, we know that a close, full-body embrace with eye contact, and that intimate hug, the eye contact, takes this type of hug to a next level. So and then there is the buddy hug. You know, we've all got buddies, and again a sort of sideways hug with your arm over each other's shoulder and on the waist, suggests a level of comfort and trust that transcends your everyday romance. It means that you aren't just a couple, but also friends. But you can do this with friends as well as a buddy. You know, if you usually sit or walk while sharing this type of hug, it means that your relationship is meant to last. And then the back hug. Now, I gave somebody a back beer hug before, and that was not for the right reasons maybe, but it's another form of intimate hug. When you see couples, when usually the man stands beside the woman and gives him a hug, and the woman has the hands over the top, but it's a sign of trust and protection. And it's a sort that kids usually give their parents, and the parents reciprocate by carrying them around. So if you're receiving hugs like this, it means someone literally has your back. Now, there is so much more to it, but as I said, we don't need science. All these scientific studies I mentioned earlier on, we don't need scientific studies. We need each other. We need to show each other that we care, whether it's care for each other in the most loving way as a partner, whether we care for each other as fathers and mothers and daughters and sons, whether we care for each other with family, with friends, with acquaintances, or whether we care for other human beings. Self-care is important, but you know, you can't give what you haven't got, and if you give with a full hug, fully meant, not just, oh, I think I should know, just go over with unconditionally hug somebody. It is doing wonders for you. It is doing wonders for the person who receives it. And you know, you'll know when you've had a hug how this feels. But I hope you have a better idea about hugging as a phenomenal self-care tool, which positively affects both the giver and the receiver of a hug. Have a hugful weekend. Look after yourself and go and indeed give someone a hug or 3. And I will see you on Monday. Take care.